This art project and the recognition of Asian American contribution to the New Mexico justice system has been the project of Dr. Xu Wang for almost 10 years. She worked tirelessly to lobby legislators, city and county government, and anyone else who shared her vision for this monument. Without this woman, this story would be left to scholars and authors. But today we can count on this piece of art and community to share our thirst for history.
Thank you for coming today to celebrate the unveiling of the monument to a long-forgotten Chinese-American civil rights case, Territory of New Mexico v. YeeShun, 1882. Since the project began 8 years ago, the monument has evolved to represent and to be inclusive of our diverse society, our population in New Mexico, and the nation. It is important to understand that almost 150 years ago, in New Mexico and the nation, YeeShun and other Chinese changed the American legal system. The relationship between race and law in the 19th century was riddled with mistreatment, violence, and judicial discrimination. It was a tough time to be a Chinese American or a person of color in America. Our fight collectively, all of us here, as Americans, for equal rights for all citizens defines our nation, and sometimes we get it right.
Works of art that allow us to talk about history and to talk about the present, as well as works of art that make spaces beautiful, are really important to us on the Arts Board, and we thank you for being here. We want to thank the selection committee, our funding partners, and really we're honored to be part of this wonderful project.
This monument is a symbol of the long road of the civil rights, not just for the Chinese Americans, but for every American who has had to face racism and inequity. I'm so very proud that the Chinese American Citizen Alliance is a sponsor of this monument.
It's still such a historic case, as we all know, of course, marking the first time in American jurisprudence that an Asian immigrant's voice, a Chinese immigrant's voice, was truly heard in a court of law. That's quite a statement given the social and political climate of the time. Of course, there were laws and policies in place specifically designed to curtail Chinese immigration, as well as laws prohibiting Chinese immigrants from exercising basic civil, economic, and human rights at the time. So naturally, this brought to my mind similar hardships and struggles experienced by African American citizens during what I think is the post-Reconstruction era, which was this time. Also, of course, thinking about the struggles and hardships of Mexican American and Latin American immigrants as well during this period of time in the United States. I must say, at times it's hard not to become a little bit angry and jaded when you think about how poorly Chinese immigrants and other really intentionally marginalized groups have historically been treated in this great country of ours. But what we're here to do today, on this beautiful day, cold as it may be, is really not to bemoan and besmirch this great country, but to celebrate the resilience, the tenacity, the redemptive power of the Asian American spirit. That spirit has and continues to be such an influence in the life and culture not only of our Albuquerque community, but the United States as a whole.
In 2013, in State versus Zamora, the New Mexico Supreme Court held that a district court's excusal of a Spanish-speaking prospective juror who had difficulty understanding the English language violated the juror's state constitutional right to serve on a jury. New Mexico, as in Territory versus Shun, was on the cutting edge once again, the first state to recognize this right. In New Mexico, anyone called for jury duty, regardless of what language they speak, is entitled to serve on that jury, and the courts must accommodate that person by way of an interpreter. What Batson, Flowers, and Zamora, more than 100 years later, demonstrate is that there are still obstacles to individuals participating in the legal system. So let this beautiful piece of art be a reminder of where we have been and where we are now. A reminder to everyone who works in the Second Judicial District Court and everyone that enters that building. A reminder that the courts are the guardians of constitutional rights.
It's a great honor to be standing here today as one of the installation's creative visual voice. and on behalf of my ancestors who immigrated to the territory of Hawaii and persevered through adversity. Because I am of Chinese American heritage, I realize the importance and the need to advocate for and continue work on advancing equities in our communities. We hope this installation will inspire people to learn from past events, such as YeeShun's trial, and act to rectify inequities to create equal opportunities for advancement, inclusion, and full participation in our U.S. communities.
And I'm remembering Gandhi's program called Each One Teach One. And he put a program together so that he could educate the people way out in the hinterland. If one person taught another person and that person taught another person, pretty soon the masses would know. So I look on this sculpture as a place where we can each one teach one. And so the pieces in the sculpture that are really important to me are primarily first the braid. Because the braid, as far as the Chinese are concerned, that's the queue or the braid that they wore on their, the back of their heads. But bigger than that, for me, the braid represents all of our cultures braided together. It's the backbone of the sculpture and the backbone of the country. And the clouds is another symbol that I think is very, very important, and that is the clouds are our dreams. And you'll see a little bench in front of the sculpture, and that's another kind of cloud. So I invite you to sit in YeeShun's place and look at the backbone of the sculpture that leads up to the braid unwinding and represents the three gourds, which are the three branches of government, which are so critical to all of us. And if each one teaches one, that philosophy, you bring your lunch here and you sit in that cloud and you look at the backbone and up at the three gourds, the three branches of government, and remember you need to teach young people what our jurisprudence is. And I was really happy to see all these children. Those are the people we need to teach. Thank you.
加油！加油！加油！加油！加油！Okay, thank you.